Alright, my old Newmar has a Generac Primepact 66G, and it was running kind of rough. On the last journey, came out from Pennsylvania out here to Arizona, and I ran it for several hours on a few nights on the journey out here, and got to the point it was really running pretty hard. So I did an oil change. The Primepact 66G uses 10W30 oil, approximately 1.5 quarts, and of course you drain it right down here, under here. So you'll drain your old oil out, and I'll take this one off with the air, kind of let it all drain out. I replaced the oil filter with a Fram PH 4967 oil filter, and I replaced the spark plugs. The spark plugs are Champion RC 12YCs. You could also use ACR 45Ss. And I'll show you in a little bit where your plugs are over here. So you pop these wires off. You're going to need a spark plug wrench and the socket. I believe the socket is a 5/8 spark plug wrench. Anyway, once I drained everything out, I put my new oil filter on. I also replaced the fuel filter. So you just take your old fuel filter in any auto parts place, let them eye it up. They'll find one that'll match, and it just threads into your fuel pump here. So got the oil change, spark plugs done. Hold on, my puppy dog is making a big fuss. Spark, settle down. All right, I'll have to edit that out. So I got it. It started up fine. Oh, the spark plug gap. The spark plug gap is 0.030 inches or 0.8 millimeters. And so it would start up, and it seemed like it was smoking a whole lot. Well, what was going on was the choke was stuck. So to get into the choke, you're going to remove your air filter. And I still have to get a new air filter. I have to order one online. Your air filter's in here. And I just have this loosely put together. You're going to have to take this plate off. And of course you're going to use a wrench. But I have these loose because I already had it apart. But I just wanted to show you what you'd have to do to get this apart. Take these two screws out here. Two nuts. Alright, so the next thing, there's a little hose, and this hose has got a lip on it that comes in over this piece of plastic. So you just need to get a screwdriver and kind of pry that hose to get it popped off. Once you get that off, you're going to want it here, and I just used some carburetor cleaner that I picked up at local auto parts place, and I sprayed down in here. There is a solenoid. There is a solenoid right here that moves this lever, and you can see, and it opens up the butterfly in there. So this is what was sticking right here. So I cleaned this up a little bit, put a little WD-40 on it, wiped it down, put a little oil, wiped it down, some more WD-40, and I went over all the moving mechanisms. I sprayed carburetor cleaner in around here, really cleaned up the carburetor. I didn't pull it apart. I wasn't that ambitious. But doggone it, that just didn't make all the difference in the world. Running this is going to be a little loud, but I can start it up here. Running just beautiful right now. It's not blowing any smoke. She's not blowing any smoke. She's running really good. When you check your oil over here, there's my dipstick. You can see I'm right halfway between the add and the overfill. And when you put that in, you actually screw it all the way down. And then pull this back up to take a look at it. And of course, I would wipe that down. I already know it's correct. All right. So right now I'm going to have to put this thing back together. It seems like it's running good. And once I get it back together, I'll take a picture of it here for you. And then I'm going to show you how to pull this off, this cover, and set your voltage at exactly 120 volts AC. It's a pretty simple operation to do that. So hang on, I'll be back in a second. All right, getting this back on. This little rubber hose, a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you can get your finger back in here, and you can kind of, with a thin screwdriver, pry this around and finally get it in, so the lip of this hose locks in place on the cutout plastic there. So, and I am using a 3/8, and we'll just tighten these back down. And you gotta make sure this little rubber inlet here gets inside this square. I've got it in there pretty good. And then I've got my cover here. And basically this just covers over here. So anyway, if your Generac 66G is blowing a little smoke, you might have a stuck choke, and that's pretty much how you get in, and you can kind of check that solenoid, go over all the moving connections, and clean them up. I did a little carburetor cleaner over the whole carburetor and cleaned it up, and I probably saved myself a couple $100 not having to take it into a small engine guy to work on this. It's not that hard. You got a few tools. There we go. That's snug. All right. So one more time, we're gonna start it up here and see how she's running. Back this up. All right. Hit my start switch over here. She's running beautiful. Really nice. That is running gorgeous. And I am going to have to get myself another another air filter. This uses a Generac part number 72123. It's got flame retardant, and that's pretty much it. And fit these little lips back down in here. And I wasn't able to find this exact air filter at any auto parts places. It's something they can order for you, or you can order it yourself over the internet. Just look it up. Alright, so I got my fuel filter back onto the cover here. This just pops right down in on here. And we're gonna put this back down. Get it lined up right. There we go. That's perfect. Alright. And now that I got this together, if you look over here on these sides, there's your spark plug. You just pop that cap off. You might have to get a screwdriver. Sometimes they're a little tight. You get it off, but it's pretty easy to get the spark plug out. Just get the cover off. This is sometimes a little bit of a pain in the butt. And you got your other one over here on this side, right here. So there are your two spark plugs on the V-twin. And next I will show you how to set your voltage. Alright, the circuit board that controls the voltage for the generator is inside this plastic cover. And I'm going to try to get this set up so you can see. It's held on by 4 screws. 1, 2, there's one over here, 3, 4. So I'm going to take these out. And just so you know, in case yours looks a little different, these are not the original screws. When I bought the RV, this cover was sitting in under the sink, and I ended up having to get myself 4 screws. Alright, there's 2, and we've got 2 over on this side. Yep. Alright. Okay, oh, lost my screw. Alright, so you pull that off, and this is the control board. This is what's controlling your voltage, this little potentiometer right there. And down here, this is your start switch. This is your gas prime. This is your master on-off 30 amp breakers. While I'm working on this, I have the entire circuitry off on the rig, going into the RV, because I'm actually hooked to 50 amp service right now, and I'm not going to count on the automatic transfer switch working properly. It probably does, but why chance it? So I'm going to leave these these off right now. And these are 2 30 amp breakers, so you got your 30 amp, your 30 amp. That should be able to handle 60 amps. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I need to look back here for both the I got my common ground. Common ground is here. So I have my voltmeter. I will put my voltmeter set on AC. Well, one's going to be here, and I'm going to tie the other one right off here on the back side of the switch and read my voltage when this is running. So give me a second while I set this up. Alright, so I have my voltmeter leads hooked up to the input from the generator input side into the circuit breaker. I have alligator clip on here, and I have the ground on this side, and I am going to start the generator up. And you can see the voltage is at 125. It's a little high. I'm going to drop this down, turning it counterclockwise. that's alright. That's pretty close. That's pretty good. It's about as good as I'm going to get it. So right now it's running at 120, 120, 121. It's fine. That works. You really want to sit and fiddle with it. You might get a little closer. Right there I'm at 120. That's 110. So we're good. And I'm going to look over here. I can see the exhaust. There's absolutely no smoke coming out of that. It's running really good. So we did a good job. Now come over here and shut it down. Shut it down so I don't annoy the neighbors. And that's it. And I want to stress, when you start this thing up, don't have it on a load. That's the surest ways you could end up burning something up. Make sure that the breakers are off. There's no load on this thing when you first start it up. And you could either have it off here, or you could go inside to the circuit panel and have the master turned off there. And I also make sure I never would ever have this on at the same time I have my 50 amps plugged in out there. There is an automatic transfer switch in the RV, and it should be able to make sure nothing's gonna go bad. But if that thing were to actually have a problem, I could end up having some major, buck power between commercial power and this, and I'd never want to have that happen. It could cause you a lot of problems. So anyway, that's pretty basic maintenance on the generator to keep it running. And I'm going to put this thing back together, and I'll show you another little thing that I did. There are these little rubber covers. I got one that's sitting down there. It fell off. That goes over these. Probably have to get a little drop of glue and glue it on. But I'll show you in a second another little modification I did. Alright, I have everything back together, and I put a little drop of glue on these little covers here. I could still take them off if I had to. But anyway, that'll dry up there. So that's pretty much the maintenance on the whole RV. Now I did another little modification here. It's not too fancy, but I took an old, I cut up an old radiator coolant bottle, and I cut it out so I can fit this over top of here, and it'll cover these switches. So the generator's kind of sitting out here, not really out in the weather, but when you're driving, it could be raining, there could be water splashing up. This is just an extra little thing to keep the water from splashing on it. And I have a couple little bungees that I got from Harbor Freight. Oh, I got it. There we go. Got my bungees going. Hold on. Alright, I got that here. Because you never know, driving across the United States, what weather you might run into. I did run into some coming through the hurricane. Alright, so here's my little cover that I made. Basically it's an old radiator antifreeze container. Cut it out, a couple bungees, and it just covers over the switches for me. You're driving the generator, it's the road's right down here, so if you're driving through the rain, there could be water splashing up or whatever. So I just want to keep, I know there's this cover, but those two switches, they seem to be for the breakers seem to be uncovered. So this is just a little extra protection that keeps the water off of it. So that's it. That's pretty much my generator maintenance here. And the generator's running great. This generator only has 378 hours on it. And this is a 2002 Newmar, so the generator's about 18 years old. Just keep up with the maintenance on it. Make sure you're doing your regular oil changes. Change those spark plugs. They're not very expensive. An oil filter's just a few dollars. And again, you add your oil, drain your old oil out, put a new filter on it. Make sure it's all drained good. And I do put a little bit of I fill my filter up with oil before I screw it back on. And pretty much add my oil. I'm good. Seems like it did a nice job. The generator's running good. And that's what I need. And it's not blowing blue smoke with a stuck choke. So that was a pretty easy fix. Just cleaning up the solenoid down here that controls the choke. And anyway, that is pretty much it for this video. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you want when I do put up new videos. Thanks so much. Bye.